Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Abrazo Football Podcast. I'm Blaine, as always. Brooks out in Barcelona, and today, Brooks, let's not beat around the bush. Let's get straight into it. You can see me wearing the shirt. You already know who we're talking about. Right after the transfer window slammed shut, Man City hit with big accusations from the Premier League, over 100 charges in financial fair play or financial uh, rule breakings or charges or whatever. I mean, I can't talk right now. Let's get straight into it, dude. Man City, they're breaking the law allegedly. What do you make of this? First off, let's talk about what did they do wrong? Like Man City, the Premier League, what is the issue? Over 100 charges. What are these charges?
Over
Or
a
what are
hundred.
some of them? Obviously, like we
Yeah.
can't name them all, but like what are some of the charges, and how bad are they?
So, I mean, that's kind of the edge of the question, right? People are like, wait a minute, 100 counts again, 104 or 105 counts against them over like a pretty long period of time too, like more than 4 years. Um, so
Yeah, I
what?
I was gonna say yeah. I think it go like yeah, like closer to almost a
A
decade.
decade,
I think it
right?
was 8 years. Yeah, or just under.
Yeah, I think it's like down back to like the 09, 10. Like I think it was before they even won the league. Um, so
Yeah, it
essentially,
was on when they started to come up.
yeah. So obviously that's a little bit interesting that they waited. I guess this is just an ongoing investigation, but essentially like just to like make it clear, it's essentially for failing to provide like accurate financial data, financial reporting, inflated sponsorships, like saying, I think that you've talked about this in the past, like saying money was
Hmm.
there when money really wasn't there, or saying like,
Yeah,
oh no, we're getting 500 million from these guys when it's only maybe 100 million or 50 or 200 million. So essentially just to like bring it down to like an ease of explanation, it's yeah, failing to provide accurate financial records and like inflating costs that are basically due to like sponsorship revenue that's not actually really accurate.
yeah. Like I feel like the example that I keep hearing is I want to say I think it was Mancini or Pellegrini, one of their earlier coaches when they were starting to come up was like, let's just say for example, like the financial rules said he could only make like let's just say 5 million could be his salary. But I'm guessing because at the time Man City weren't a big club. Maybe they aren't a big club, but at the time they weren't a big club at all. Like they had won nothing, so they're like, oh yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
maybe it was hard to get him to come there without saying like we're going to give you 20 mil, but they're like we can only give you like 5 mil on the books, but you can consult for
Right.
Etihad Airways
Yeah.
or another club in our umbrella, and they will give you a check for
Right.
15 million. So it's like we didn't break financial fair play. You were a consultant for another club that we just so happened to have like loose ties with, and they gave you the money. It wasn't Man City, but in reality, it was Man City. Like they just wired 15 million to Etihad Airways, and then Etihad just would write the check and give it to Roberto Mancini.
Yeah.
Which okay, and I guess and it's like stuff like that. So I feel like they did that with a lot of coaches. They did that with a lot of players because like they like transparently didn't want to look like they're breaking FFP, but they also needed to pay these players what they said. But in my opinion, I mean, maybe I'm just a bad person, but I feel like in those circumstances, like I get it. Like you don't want teams to go bankrupt and like you want it to be fair for everybody, but also it's like why should, let's just say at the time Manchester United, why should they be able to play their coach,
Yeah.
20 million? Why should Fergie be able to get 20 million? Because like Man U have been successful for so long. If there's another club that can legitimately afford to pay their coach 20 million because their owners are billionaires or their estate, like why should they have to even lie about it in the first place? Why can't they just say, yeah, like for us, like we're not like we're a club that will never fold. We're a club that will never go into administration unless people stop buying oil. Like, we will never go into administration. So if we want to give our coach 20 million, like, you don't need to worry about us like going under. Like, we are good. So like, maybe give me your take there, because like I feel like why even put a team in a position where they have to lie? Like, if you can say like that, like if I'm coming to a club and it say like, in my purse I have assets that exceed $10 billion, why are you tripping? Like, I feel like it would only be like, say for example Nottingham Forest, like it's probably a good idea to make sure they don't pay their coaches 20 million, because Nottingham Forest probably only has a purse that has 30. So like, if they do, or something like what Barcelona did last summer, where they're like selling off so much of the club, it's like, okay, like this is risky business.
Yeah.
But like, giving a coach 20 million and you have like a palace with 30 billion in cash on the floor, like, you're definitely not putting yourself at risk. So you're not protecting the club. And if there's other clubs in the league that are paying their coaches that much, it's like, from a fairness standpoint, like, I get it, you win more, you can spend more, but at the same time, like, you never win more unless you spend more.
Yeah.
It's like, so I mean, give me your take on that, because I've just been thinking, these are some of my thoughts. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I mean, it's just weird that they want to. It just seems so much like almost like Big Brother. It's like, no, 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 you can't spend this much. Well, I have literally infinite amounts, so why can't I spend this much? Just because I was recently bought, or like, obviously, at the time, Man City was recently bought by like the state. Like
Yeah.
they have a ton of money, and that's if you're, it's just I don't know what they're. I think that obviously maybe obviously there was some shady business going on, but these are
Obviously,
lawyers
yeah.
that found a loophole, and loopholes are exploited, as we found out with this transfer window as well, like, and now they're going to close off that loophole, but so
I don't know if this was a loophole. I think this was a flat out blatant I can't speak, hiding in lying and breaking the rules. I don't think,
yeah,
like,
but
I
to your
think
point,
like
is
a
it breaking the
loophole.
rules if we don't really think
Yes.
it's like, if you really think
Yeah.
that it
I
shouldn't
think
be
it's a stupid
done?
rule.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's a stupid rule, but it's a stupid rule that they broke. And
Okay.
we'll get to that. I think, like, for example, like, let's think of something that I could compare to. Like, well, I can't think of anything. It's just a stupid rule. I think it's a stupid rule. They shouldn't have ever been in a position where they had to lie about it. So the fact that, like, in my opinion, the fact that they're going through all of this because they lied about their finances, it's like, why put $1 billion club in a situation where they got to lie about it? Like, just let them come out, you know, be flamboyant as they want. Like, listen, guys, we got money to burn and we're about to burn it. Like, come and stop me. Like,
Well,
they
that's what I
shouldn't
want to
have to
see.
be
I want to know
frugal.
what really, like, because these are essentially still just accusations, right? And allegations or whatever, until they're proven guilty in this court, because these are just some things that have been found, right?
No, 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 no. They aren't. Well, allegations,
Yeah.
no. Because remember when they got kicked out of the Champions League
Yeah.
2 years ago? Those weren't allegations. Like, those were stone hard facts. Like, the facts were there.
Yeah.
They
2 years ago,
broke
or a
the
couple
law.
years ago. Yeah.
Yes. And the Premier League is bringing those same charges plus several more. And the only reason UEFA didn't charge them is because it was like the statute of
Yeah.
limitations had already passed for UEFA, but there's no statute of limitation in the Premier
Premier
League.
League.
But again, to be clear, my position is, I think this is a waste of everybody's time. Just, they broke. I mean, okay, I don't want to get that far in the
Well,
conversation. I just feel
yeah.
like,
Well,
yes,
that's so. For example, like, we go to Soho House for the gym, right? We've been
yep,
there, go to dinner there, whatever. You can use your computers at the dinner table until like 1 p.m. or something. And you can't
yep.
use a computer up on the roof. And there's all these just stupid rules that I'm with you. Like, it shouldn't be a rule. This is where I hate coming here. I'll go to the gym, I'll go to dinner, but like, I can't take a call right here. It's just a stupid rule. I'm not hurting anyone. I'm not hurting myself. I'm not hurting you. I see this person on their computer right here. Why are you telling me that I have to be off mine when this person's doing it right here? Oh, maybe they work here, or maybe they're your friend or something. Like, I agree, it's a stupid rule. But at that point, when it's that stupid of a rule, like, why does it exist? Who is it helping?
These people are stupid.
Who is it
Yeah,
helping,
it
especially
doesn't.
this 10, 12 years down the line, when you know how much money they have, you know how much money they've been spending, you know that they're not really, are they really breaching financial fair play in the last X amount of years? I don't know. They're selling players
Yeah.
off. They're
Yeah.
not lying essentially right now about their finances. I just feel like personally think that obviously it's a stupid rule, but I think that what's going to happen personally, I don't know that they're going to like, unless they're continually breaking these rules, which it doesn't really sound like they are, but I almost feel like if anything happens, it would be like a take like in the past. Oh, you didn't win 2011, or that's going to be rewarded to United or something like that. But
Oh, wait, you think that's going to happen?
I mean, I think that that could happen. I don't know that they would. Why would you punish someone when it hasn't happened in the last 5, 6 years?
Okay, well, let's talk about it because
I
I
mean,
mean, I feel
has it
like maybe
happened though?
we're
Like in the
divided
last five,
here.
6 years?
From the best of my knowledge, it hasn't
Yeah,
happened. At least
since
let's just
Pep's
say in
been
the
there,
last three
since
seasons.
2017 or something, right? They were saying.
Ooh, maybe. I
That's a
mean,
lot to
let's.
dig through
I'm
in it.
just. Yeah, I'm just gonna say like. I would say let's just say it hasn't happened. Let's say it has happened since Pep has been there.
Okay.
Pep probably doesn't know. Like I'm not trying to implicate anybody that's not running the business.
Yeah.
But let's just say it has happened since Pep has been there. Some of Pep's accomplishments have been tainted now
Okay.
because they broke the rule. Okay. Pep didn't know. What, like, in my opinion, like, okay, so, like, let's just contrast this with the Juventus situation. Like, Juventus have been cooking their books for seasons, like, even before the Melo Pjanic trade. This season, they got hit with a 15-point deduction,
But they're
right?
still doing it
Which
though. They
isn't.
were still doing it anyway, right?
Oh,
This
they were
season
still
even.
doing it this
Yeah.
season? Oh, okay.
From
Well,
what I know,
fine.
it was not like a new. I mean, it wasn't like a back in the past thing. It was like a past and now. This is why these guys are like, oh, we're going to step down before anything else happens.
Yeah, well, okay, well, whatever. I don't care. My point remains the
Okay,
same.
okay,
If
okay.
if if someone doesn't get tried for their crime, like if someone
Crime.
committed a crime, it's a crime. They broke it's a crime to the league, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I'm speaking for the league, not these guys.
yeah.
If someone breaks a crime for the league and they don't discover it until this year, or they don't decide to like levy charges until this year, like like you didn't commit the crime, like you committed the crime in 2018, like it's 2023 now, I guess we can't do anything. It's like I feel like you still have to do something. If that's like I feel like they have two options. They either have to say, yeah, like this rule is dumb, we're going to get rid of it, or we have to do something, and whether you stop doing it or not, like you need to be punished. In my opinion, I feel like you have to be punished today for what you did yesterday, because I feel like if they went back and they were like, okay, like you won the league this many times, like we're going to take these leagues from you. It's like, well, one, like is that really going to make a difference? Like let's just use Kevin De Bruyne as an example. Like if you weren't giving Kevin De Bruyne £350,000 a week, would you guys not have won the league? Like I don't like it. I feel like that's just too hard a question to answer. Is like, would he have performed this good if he was only getting 150? Well, he was in Wolfsburg. He was a good player. He does it at Belgium. He's a good. I mean, is the money what that would made him do that, or because
No.
it's like the trans like all of their transfers were reasonable. Like
Yeah.
they got like most of their players. Like they City is yet to like really do something like crazy,
Just
like in
Jack
terms of
Grealish,
buying a player.
really.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah, just Jack Grealish. But besides that, like they do sensible transfers. So it's like it's not like they were out here like spending 250 on like Neymar or Mbappe. They
Yeah.
they bought get players for a decent price. And it's like, yo, we just want to give our players more money. And like we're not in a position to like pay our players because we haven't won enough. So but it's like these are champion style players. Like they deserve to be
Yeah.
compensated. So it's like, what are you saying Kevin De Bruyne doesn't deserve £350,000? I mean, in the context of the sport where a player like, let's say, bad signing from Chelsea. Alvaro Morata is making 250. Kevin De Bruyne doesn't, So it's like I just feel like I don't know, Brooks. I want you to tell me anything. I feel like the only thing that they could realistically do is fine them. Which I get it. People are saying, "Oh yeah, you find Man City. It doesn't mean anything because they're $1 billion club." Like, it's like me getting a speeding ticket for $50. Like, I will forget about it before the ink has dried on the ticket. You know what I mean? Like it's not a big
Yeah.
deal. But also I'm like, I feel like all they could do is like say like take a point, either a take a point deduction right now, but I mean, and I want to know how that would make you feel as an Arsenal fan where you guys are flying at the top of the league. Just take a 15-point deduction right now
Hmm.
and pay a fine, or if they want to be really serious about it, we're going to kick you out of the Premier. Like you're
Yeah.
automatically relegated at the end of the season. But like if they were to go
Yeah.
back and say like, oh yeah, man, you won the season in 2000, like let's just say 2014. It's like, okay, man, you won the season. And what does that mean? Does that mean City came in second place? Does that mean
Well, I think it's
City
just as,
were
yeah, I think,
relegated?
yeah, that's a good point. I think that's why maybe like a remedial or like a points deduction from like the past or something. Because to your point, they're not doing anything wrong right now that we know of. They're paying De Bruyne,
Yeah,
who wasn't there in 2011 when they first won the title, 350. Like that doesn't affect. That's fine. That's what he makes. That's what he's worth, and he's playing to that worth here. So that's why I personally, and I don't know what's going to happen. I was just saying for me, I would prefer like a points deduction on those years that I'm in trouble for. Don't like, especially because there is a statute of limitations in Europe, but England doesn't want to go by that, or the Premier League specifically doesn't want to abide by those rules. So they're just
yeah,
making it, and this is where I have a bit of a problem with it myself as well, because I do feel like all that the Premier League cares about is money. So yeah, they're going to get a fine. They're going to pay it to the league or to UEFA as well. And I don't know how many people are going to, come in and say, "Oh, you're going to owe us money too." Like, what does that do? That doesn't do anything. Like, especially to Man City, they don't care. Like, it's money first of all. Second of all
yeah,
someone else is doing is getting rich off of what they were doing, and so I don't agree with that happening. I think that for me personally, if I were to think about what's kind of fair, it would be yeah, like strip them. I mean, kind of like what happened to Juventus 20 years ago when they were relegated. They were stripped of those titles. Um, because I don't know. I don't think that giving them a points deduction this year in 2023 like makes much sense to me. It's just to me it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because it happened unless we know exactly if they're still doing it. If they're still doing it, sure, give them a points deduction or whatever. But it's if it stopped in 2017, 18, 19, whatever, why impact them today? Just make them hurt for what happened 10 years ago, or I don't know. I just don't. I'm not as into it. I still think they're going to be winning. I still think they have the best coach, the best players, the best staff, the best everything in England. I don't know. I
yeah.
don't find a big reason to do anything unless they're still breaking that rule today. Unless they're saying, "Hey, Pep's getting paid only 10 million a year when he's really getting 50 million a year because of that whole whatever however they're getting over that like they did with Mancini in the past, then yeah, that sucks and that's a really big problem, and let's figure that out. But if they're not doing anything crazy right now, just why what does it matter? Why does it matter that they're going to get punished right now for something that happened 5 years ago?
Yeah, but let me ask you this question. I agree with you. It's almost I like if they were like yeah like they'd stopped doing it,
Yeah.
and obviously fines don't mean anything, but like we all know there's going to be a fine. There's
Yes,
definitely
someone's going to
going to
get
be a
money
fine.
out of
So like
this. Yeah.
yeah, so take that for what it is. And if they're not doing something today, I mean, I still feel like a penalty, like something besides money has to happen. And it's like you lied to us. Like you willingly lied to us for this long. So even if there's not a point deduction, I would say an automatic relegation at the end of the season. Well, I mean, you just have to set a precedent where it's like whether or not you agree with the rule or not, for
Yeah.
someone to blatantly break a rule for an extended run of seasons and hide that information from you and not cooperate when you ask to see their finances, whether you agree with it,
Hmm.
showing your finances or not. Like you like everyone else was doing this was a part of the rules, and you weren't doing it, and you kept doing it for let's just say 5 seasons, but I think it was closer to 10. But you did this for 5 seasons. Like something has to happen. So if it's a fine, an expulsion from the league because we can't trust you, even though you've stopped doing it, maybe you're doing something else we don't know about, and that's speculation. So let's just say they're not, but still something has to happen, because if not, it's like other clubs are like, yeah, well, I don't agree with this rule, so I'm just going to break it and I'm going to lie to you about it until you eventually find me. And as long as I'm not breaking that rule when you find me, like nothing really happens unless you say, okay, we're gonna strip you of titles. So it's like if you strip Man City of the titles, does that mean United get the title that year? Does that mean that Tottenham or Liverpool, does that mean they get the title? if they get deducted points, it's like, okay, maybe they get deducted 5 points. So whoever was in fifth place will now be in fourth place. Well, now they're going to want to sue Man City, and they're going to want to sue the Premier League, because they're going to say you knew they weren't cooperating. You didn't
Yeah.
do something in
And we missed out
2018
on Champions League
because you didn't.
money or Premier League
We missed out
money
on
or
Champions League money. Exactly. And then whoever didn't, like, it just trickles down to where, like,
yeah.
now all of a sudden you have a case where Norwich is saying, yo, if City
Yeah.
had have been playing right, we wouldn't have lost to them in that season, and we wouldn't have been relegated. And we were relegated because there was a 2 point difference, or like the goal differential where they
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
scored 8 goals. So then, like, you have like this whole mess to clean, where it's like, okay, like, you can't do something where like only one team is like given justice, which would be like, oh, now Liverpool gets the title,
Mhm.
or now Man U gets the title. It's like, okay, but like, yeah, that's important to Liverpool, but like, what about me? Like, I want that Champions League money. I wanted the opportunity to play in Champions League. We got
Mhm.
relegated, so it's like, how do you square all those people?
You
Or are
can't.
you just saying like, yeah? So I feel like
Yeah.
if you can't make it right for everyone, like, you're opening yourself up for like even more headaches. So I feel like it's almost easier just to say like, yo,
Yeah.
like, whatever happened,
Okay.
unless you just strip the title and you don't give it to anybody else. Like, oh yeah, like, for the last, you know however long, like the 5 trophies they've won in the last 8 years, like, just no one won the Premier League. Like champion, not applicable. Which,
Yeah.
it's like,
Which everyone's going to still say
whatever.
they weren't
Like,
anyway when they talk about it. But I also think that,
exactly. It's like, yeah, it's like they didn't cheat. It's not like, also, I feel like Juventus, they like cheated on the field. Like,
yeah,
they influenced the outcome of games.
yeah, they paid
Like,
refs.
as
They
far as,
paid, yeah, yeah.
they paid refs. Yeah, whereas like Man City, it's like, these were all finance crimes.
Yeah.
The players don't know. The players are like, yeah, I think this is the money I'm owed, and this is what I'm going to get. The
Yeah.
coaches think this is the money I'm owed, and this is what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
And that's all. And they're none the wiser. Like, they're like, they didn't pay refs. They're not like paying other teammates. They're not like fixing games. They're just like giving more. They're just spending their money on their people, and their people
Yeah.
think they deserve the money. But
That's why I
so
think, I
I don't
mean,
know.
as
It's
wrong as this
tricky.
may be, just fine them. That's really the only thing you can
Yeah,
do. Maybe point deduct them this
there's
season
there's
if they're still doing it, but fine them. Just fine them, or even like transfer ban them for X amount of years. I don't know. There's really nothing
yeah.
much that, to your point, like you can't make it right. You can't. There's no way you can make it right. It happened. It's way in the past.
There's no way
You,
you can make it
you
right.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even if you relegate them this year, let's say that, okay, like we're just going to relegate them this season. Well, then what? Then in the championship, just some random. I mean, that's going to have that's going to have repercussions kind of everywhere we look at it, you know? So,
I mean, I feel like it would, but I feel like that would still, like, this is where I feel like if they like said you can finish the league this year, you can even win the league this year. Arsenal keeps screwing up, but no matter what, come next season, you will be playing in the championship, and whoever is in the third, like the highest, like, of the three relegation, whoever's like in 2018, whoever's in the 18th spot, they'll stay, and you'll go in their stead down to the championship. Now, the championship, like, okay, for their part, like, Man City playing in the championship would be a disaster. Like, obviously they're going to win the championship, but at the same time, now the championship has a bunch of ratings. Like, people are now
yeah.
watching Manchester City in championship teams are having the opportunity to go to the Etihad and watch games at like a state of the art tier 4 state
Lower
European
price.
stadium, lower ticket prices. So and like at the same time, like, they could still potentially be in the Champions League. Like, they aren't, like, the Champions League can't do anything. So like, they're kicked out of the Premier League, but they're still like, there could be a situation where like someone could win the Champions League but get relegated. So like, they're playing in the Championship but also the Champions League. So I feel like if it were up to me and I was in charge, I'd be like, listen, guys, like, you've done something horrible. I'm realistically, if it were me, just because I know going to the championship, they're just going to bounce right back. Like, no one's going to jump. Like, I doubt very seriously that anyone's going to jump ship. Like, is Erling Haaland going to leave the club, or
I
is he
mean,
going to
I'm
play in
sure
the
there's
championship?
clauses in there, but not a ton of people did with Juventus, but some did. Like Ibra was gone. I think Buffon stayed. There were quite a few that
Yeah.
left, but quite a few that stayed too. That's a large squad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I guess it depends. Like, if I was on the team and I was like, this was like, if all the charges were these financial charges where they were just saying this person gave us more money, but for real, we're just spending our own money,
Mm,
I would come to the conclusion, like, yeah, like you guys are dishonest, but like you were lying about something that I personally feel you don't need to lie about. So I'm gonna ride it out because I know the squad's good, and we'll be back, and we'll come back stronger than ever.
yeah.
But and also there might not be any financial rules like that in the championship, so now we can even beef up the squad even more. Buy some players, leave them on loan at the club there, and when we come back to the Premier League, bring them back that summer. But so
Yeah.
I would just say like a 15-point ban. If I was an Arsenal fan, I would be pushing for the 15-point ban. I'm just going to keep it 100. I would be pushing for a 15-point ban this season. If I'm not an Arsenal fan and I don't care and I just want what I think is truly fair, I mean, a fine because fines must always be paid, and then an automatic relegation. And that's all there is to it. There's
If there's a
no
fine, it
retro.
shouldn't go to the Premier League. Premier League's been making money off of this the whole time. People are paying to see Man City win. People are paying to go to Man City. People are paying NBC Sports in America to watch Man City. Like they're one of the highest rated TV ratings now. So I
Well,
just that's what I hate.
bro,
Like you're literally going to find these people and just keep lining your pockets because you benefited from this for the last 12 years. This is why you took so long to do it. You knew that you were that you were going to come down on them. You just what are waiting for them to keep going and going and going so you could keep lining your pockets with money too. It's bad business for Man City to not be in the Premier League, and they know that. But they also know that they've been making money off of these huge, 100-point seasons and these really great years that they were making. So, yeah, fine, sure, that doesn't hurt Man City, but it just keeps helping this entity that I think is crooked to begin with. So, I mean, it should go
oh
to a
yeah,
charity, or it should go to a hospital, or it should go to Norwich, or it should, I don't know, maybe spread it amongst all the
yeah.
top Premier League teams. I don't know, but don't line the pockets with these guys again.
Oh, I agree, dude. I've never understood the idea of fines in sports.
Yeah.
I just go back to the NBA because it's more prevalent. It's
Okay.
like, oh, this person got a technical foul, they get fined $15,000. I'm like, $15,000 for what? Like, what is that 15,000? Like, and typically, let's say like a Knicks player gets
Fifteen
attacked.
thousand
15. I'm pretty sure.
to
At
the
least that's what it
league?
was in the 90s. To the league, you pay 20, you
My
get 15K to the
gosh.
league, like, or like you cuss on camera that's like 20K, like just like all these different rules. Or like back in the day, like if you like were on the bench not playing and like you weren't wearing like a suit, like say you're wearing like some baggy jeans, some Timberlands, and a big shirt, like you get fined like a presentation fee
Oh my
because like your
gosh.
presentation wasn't proper. But I'm like, what are you doing with that 20K? Like, what is that 20K? Like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do with that 15 or 20K? Like, is that just go to like the commissioner's pocket and now he can buy like a car for
Right.
his kid? Like there's no reason. It's like what like it's not like a government. Like you're not paving new roads. Like this isn't going towards
Right.
like infrastructure and scouting
They're probably
efforts
not
or
even paying
like
taxes on it, to be honest. It's all league money.
yeah. So
So that's what I mean. Again,
yeah,
like
so
this
I
is a
agree with you.
yeah, this is a huge issue, and so I mean, I don't know. I would also like if we're going to audit Man City, let's audit the Premier League. Let's audit UEFA. Let's audit FIFA. I don't know. I mean, that they're all crooked because they've been audited in the past, and Sepp Blatter's out, and it's just a bigger
Oh
issue than
yeah.
Man City, and that's like they are going to do something in Man City, and it is going to be probably pretty huge, um, and they are just going to use them as an example, is what it is. Like they're going to be used as an
Yeah.
example, and they're going to be like, see, like we care. Like no, you don't care. You don't care. You're lying in your money,
Well, but
your
it's like,
pockets of money. But
but, but why do, like, why do they care? Why do you care?
yeah,
Like, if the
why?
point is we don't want a club to overspend, so they end up in administration, and ultimately that ends up being harder for the league. Okay, that makes sense, but it only makes sense for clubs that could potentially go into
Yeah,
administration. If there's a club that could never go into administration, like unless like you're trying to like level the playing field at the highest level, which okay, fine. In the Champions League, you could say, for example, we are enforcing financial fair play across the board because all of you guys are champions. Therefore,
yeah.
you all
Oh yeah,
like should have more or less the same spending potential to or the ability to get high players. But like if it's like Newcastle, like why do you like if they want to go out and spend $500,000 or 500 million, let's just say sign, two players that they think can change their dressing room. and they can prove to you, like, I feel like buying players or buying contracts should be like buying property in America. Like, as long as you're like, it shouldn't be based off of like as long as your debt to income ratio is right, then I feel like it should be fine. And like in a case where like, okay, like maybe like Man City don't have the debt to income ratio. Well, if they just write a check and say like we're giving you 20 million up front for the season, there's no question
Yeah.
about debt to income because that
Yeah.
that has been paid.
Yeah.
You've been paid in full from our assets. So it's like,
Yeah.
why do you care? Like, why do you care? Like, this isn't like I wrote a check for 20 million for Roberto Mancini. He's getting paid up front. This is not like an expense that we're carrying on our books. We just paid him off. Why do like in here, look at our
Yeah.
bank, like we can afford it. Why is this a problem?
Yeah.
Like I like the most frustrating thing is this should have never been a problem. It should have never been
Yeah.
something that they had to hide. It's like,
Yeah.
yo, we want to pay him more money. We can afford it. What's the problem? Like, we want our coaches to be making as much as the best coaches. And it's like, because, I mean, to their credit, they could be like, yo, we can't pay you that much money because the league won't let us. And it's like, okay, maybe he won't come. But then, like you said, like the Premier League doesn't benefit because, like, you're hurting. You're hurt. Like,
Yeah.
if a team wants to be competitive, let them compete as long as they can prove that they're not going to be, you know,
Yeah.
hurting themselves in the process, which it's clear that Man City have not hurt themselves in the process.
Yeah.
Because again, like I feel like I keep beating this into it,
I
they
agree.
will never run out of money. They will never run out of money. And
Yeah.
that's their I feel like that's their prerogative.
Yeah.
People are like, oh yeah, but like it's ruining soccer. I'm like, okay, if you want to say someone's ruining soccer, you could say that about Chelsea maybe if you wanted to, but Man City aren't because they aren't like doing blockbuster things. They're just
No.
paying their players and coaches a competitive rate and buying players for fair prices. They're not,
Yeah.
and the only thing is you're just saying they shouldn't have been able to do that because they had never won anything and they were a small club. Therefore, they shouldn't have been able to spend more than you know 60 million on everything
Yeah.
combined, like all their players, coaches, like their budget for the year was 60 million. It's like, yo, we want our budget to be 150 because we can afford it. So like,
Yeah.
why, anyway,
And the other thing, though,
it's annoying.
it's annoying, but I also think that just to kind of finish this thought is that I think that the people running Premier League, if I was running a business, if I started a business or if I bought a club or whatever, I would say I would trust to make me a more successful business those who are running Man City over those who are running the Premier League. So it's a pretty arrogant thing for these people to be like, oh no, we're doing this to protect you. Like, what do you know about my finances as my business? And you're putting a weird cap on me, but you don't know anything about like how I can run business or do business or anything like this. So I think that's pretty kind of outrageous, first of all. But second of all, I think that make it more like homegrown then. Maybe say you have to have 3 homegrown players, like almost like here in the Copas, the Copa del Rey or whatever, like you have to field X amount of homegrown players, or at least Spanish, English players,
Yeah,
But I think
no,
that the
that's fair.
homegrown
Yeah,
thing would be
put
amazing.
other safeguards. Yeah,
Yeah. Put other safeguards that are going to make you have to just think a little bit more and develop, because I think that at the end of the day, it's almost like if you're not developing, then that's a little bit of a problem. Like if you just keep continuing to pump money into it, okay, you have the money, that's fine, but you're pumping it in from other places, or maybe like I know that bringing up Chelsea again, a lot of these homegrown players are worried that they're going to get sent, sold off to different clubs, and that is a legitimate fear. Make sure that you have to field a couple of them every game or something. I don't know. It just seems like that they're not going to fix the problem, because they never fix the problem. They're just going to find them and maybe relegate them or whatever, but that's not fixing the problem, in my opinion. So anyway.
yeah. I mean, but also, I mean, to that point, during the time that this is happening, Man City technically, a lot of the players that they had during like this period were technically homegrown players. Like Jack Grealish is considered a homegrown player, is he not?
I mean, there's a difference between homegrown and English, right? Homegrown would be like, what's that
Yeah.
kid, that Connor,
Yeah.
or that like skinny, I forget his name. I'll have to look it up, but
What team?
City.
What team? Phil Foden?
No, well, him too, but
Homegrown
there's that
player.
another younger kid. But are you talking about for when he was for Aston Villa or for Man City?
I'm just saying, like, regardless, like,
Okay.
from Aston Villa to Man City, like, he's still considered a homegrown player, isn't he? Like, homegrown to the Premier League.
For me, homegrown is
Like,
like
came-
like from the youth development or whatever. But I don't know what it technically
Oh,
is. That's just what I
yeah,
don't know.
I mean, I just always assumed, like, for example, I feel like that's why British players always have like the tax on them because they're all considered homegrown. Like, if Harry Kane goes to the Premier or to
Cole
City,
Palmer.
like Cole Palmer, yeah,
Yeah.
like
Sorry, keep going.
they're all considered homegrown players.
Okay, got
But
it.
again, I don't think that was the problem. Like, yeah, that's a problem. Like, that maybe they like for people not to spend as much in the transfer. But again, that's not what City was in trouble. Like, City wasn't in trouble for like buying like let's call a spade a spade. They weren't fined for buying Spanish and Spanish speaking players
Yeah,
because that's
yeah,
what Pep wants to work with. They were
yeah,
only fined because like they were paying players and coaches
yeah. That's true.
more money than what they thought. Like because like if it was just the transfers, like their transfers were all
Yeah, the transfers are always
above the
fine.
board. Yeah, it's just like even it's just like oh yeah, like you're like let's just say homegrown player. Let's just say like maybe Vincent Company could be considered homegrown because he had been on the team for so long. Uh, he shouldn't get like you guys can't afford to pay him $300,000 to be your captain. Like you can only afford to pay him 120. Like that's the part that I don't get because like I feel like in like unless it comes out that they're breaking other rules, like if those are the only rules that they were breaking, like there's other rules like you said the homegrown players are like transferred, like these are rules that like I get it, like other people are like oh yeah we should be looking into other teams for other things, and it's like yeah there's other clubs that are doing other things that like appear to be worse, and that's probably because like they are worse, but it's just the problem is those things that they're doing that are worse aren't against the rules, and the
Yeah,
thing that City did that
yeah,
isn't worse is against the
yeah,
rules. So I mean it
yeah.
boils down to like the problem, the number one problem besides City being lying cheaters is the rule book. The rule book
Yeah,
has rules in there that are so absurd that you've like let's not say force, but you give people an incentive to become lying cheaters about things that don't matter. It's like, oh yeah, like 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 it's like you go to see a movie, like you got to put your phone in like cinema mode. Like, did you put your phone in cinema mode? No. And then like the movie theater wants to fine you because your phone vibrated. It's like, did it really hurt anybody? Like, does anybody care if my phone vibrates? Like, yeah, I lied, but like,
yeah.
come
Right.
on, like this is stupid.
That's a good
Like,
point.
what are we talking about? Like,
Yeah,
we're like, I just think it's just such a stupid thing, and
yeah,
it's like, but they've been doing it for so long, and there's over 100. Well, it's like, bro, like, well, if you think like if they have a starting 11 and a coach, that's 12 people.
yeah.
You do that for you know
8 years.
5 seasons,
Yeah,
or a handful of years, like that quickly accumulates to be
yeah.
over a
A
hundred
hundred counts. Yeah,
charges. But it's like, but they're all the same thing, and the
yeah,
same thing that they were doing isn't that big a deal. And it's like, furthermore, it's like if also, and then I'm gonna stop, and then I probably got to go, unfortunately, but I'll give you the last word. It's like if the Premier League would have just said something in like 2013, 2014,
yeah.
2015, like let's just be honest about it. Like what would the penalty be if they're like, "Oh yeah, like you got 30 million that you weren't supposed to have because you wrote a check to one of your sponsors, and then the sponsor sent it right back and said consulting fee
Yeah.
for whatever." Like he's helping with the youth academy at like Melbourne City. And now Kevin De Bruyne is getting more money. Like, what would you have done when like so in that season? Let's just say it was 30 million every season. What would you have done in 2014 if you would have known that happened Premier League? You probably would
Right.
have fined them, and that would have been it. And they did it the next season, they would have got a fine, and that would have been it. So it's like it only looks bad because you guys like sit
Right.
on
Good
this.
point.
It's like you ask City like, "Yo, can I see your finances?" They're like, "No." Slide you one thing, and you're like, you know this is bogus, and you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Next season, can I see your finances? Sure. Okay, I know this is bogus. You probably even expressed to much like, yo, we think you're not being forthright with us, and they're probably like, oh, I promise you were being forthright, and you're like, okay, well, like, we know that, like, I keep saying Roberto Mancini. Let's say Pellegrini. We know Pellegrini's not worth a consultant fee of $20 million for Melbourne City. We know that's not true. We know that like your sponsorship deal with Etihad is not worth like if if Man U's only getting, let's say, 60 million from Chevy, we know Etihad isn't giving you 120 million. Like that would not make sense. Like that doesn't pass the
Yeah.
eye test. Like why would they give you 120 if Chevy is only giving them, or Samsung's only, like everyone else is getting half that? Why would this other company that doesn't make as much give you twice the price? And it's like, is it because the owner is the same? And it's like, yeah, that's exactly right. It's because the owner is the same and the owner wants this club to prosper. So the owner is willing to give you twice as
Right.
much. And like that's their prerogative. Like no
They
one
have the
said,
money.
it's like, yeah, it's like, oh, but that's not like what the market value of your sponsorship is worth. Yeah, but like Jack Grealish also isn't worth $100 million. So like, are you going to fine Aston Villa for selling him for that much? Like
Right.
things are only worth what people are willing to do. And if like Etihad's willing to give us 120, like why is that our problem?
Yeah.
Like or ergo, if I own Etihad and Man City and I want to give Man City twice as much, why is that a problem? It
Right.
shouldn't be. It should never be. Like that should never. It blows my mind. It should never be a problem, and it's only a problem now because they didn't do anything about it for so long and let it keep happening until City got to a point where they didn't have to do it anymore, and now they want to like, you know, act all self-righteous about the whole thing. And it's like, bro, like this isn't even a big deal. Like, and like I just like the false equivalency that I see online where people are like they're mad at other clubs, and it's like you don't even know what City did. Like what they did really isn't that bad. It just like the optics look bad, but when you like
That's a good point.
look into it, it's like, yeah, it's just like it's like this is like a kid showing up to like first period 5 minutes late, and no one's saying anything until the end of the year, and it's like, yeah, the kid has like 600 tardies.
They
It's
can't
like, well, why
graduate
didn't you
because he
say
was late
something?
every day. Yeah.
Because he was late. It was like, why don't you say something in
Totally.
in October? And it's
That's a
like,
good
oh yeah,
point.
well, we were building a case. Give me your thoughts now. I feel like I've been talking a lot. Like,
Nah, it's all
what do you
good.
where do you land? Where do you finish? Like, what is your last thoughts on Man City, on the scandal?
I mean, I'm with you from the beginning. Like, I think it's a dumb rule, but you are right. They did break the rule, so they should be punished. I think that initially at the beginning of this, my thoughts were a little bit different, and you've kind of swayed me quite a bit to like be more on like what your thoughts are. As like, I mean, you're right with like the. I think that it's only fair, kind of to what you said. Stripping titles, like I thought maybe it might not be the right, thing to do. But anyway, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, even it's the dumbest rule out there. Like maybe I fully don't understand it, but I don't disagree with it. Even like, top highest lawyers get paid a holding fee or whatever for a retainer fee. Oh, I haven't done any work
Yeah,
for 8 years, but my client is still the Corleone family, and they pay me, 10 million a year, like to call me when they
just to
need
be
me.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
just to be there.
it's just silly. And you're right. Like this Premier League, if they really wanted to stop this, they should have said something as it was happening. That's just shady all around. Like it is just, it's just like everything about this just is like, what the heck? Like, and I'm not one where I
Yeah,
think like, oh, they're cut, like there's an agenda against Man City. I don't think that, but I do think that there was a little bit of like, why are you waiting so long? To,
yeah,
to tell them this and to do this. And I guess we'll see what happens with the punishments, but I do think that it's kind of bad timing, and it looks pretty just like corny how they're handling it.
yeah. It's lame. It's lame, man. It's so lame. It's so lame. Like in the like, bro. Like I don't even like Pep Guardiola.
You don't?
You know what I mean? No, I
Okay,
hate Pep Guardiola, man. I hate him.
chill.
I don't like Pep at all.
We got to get into that on another
They
episode.
got
Why you don't like
they
that?
got this they got this man stressed in these interviews.
Yeah,
He looked like he want to fight somebody.
yeah,
And I'm like, that's not like as much. I'm like, this isn't fair for him. It's not fair for the players. That like if you're not going to like also I like this jersey. This jersey's fire.
yeah.
I
The
don't
nice
like
one
Man
there.
City.
Yeah,
I don't like Man City. But I mean, why bring this up in the middle of the season?
yeah,
Like if you know they got those lawyers, you can't do anything. Either they should have come out and be like, yo, you guys did XYZ and this is your punishment. Take it
Yeah.
take it. And City might, if they would have been like, yo, we're just going to give you a 15-point ban right now for all the dirt you did in the past, eat it.
Yeah.
City would probably be like, you know what?
Fine.
Roll with it.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's over. Now we're moving on. But it's like, oh yeah, like they can appeal this and now we got to go through this whole thing. It's like,
Yeah.
well, why don't you just wait until the season was over? Like, why bring up this distraction in the middle of the season when
Why?
they're like going toe to toe with Arsenal? And
Yeah.
now it's like, okay, this could affect them to like not perform as well. This might mess with like this is just like an unwanted distraction. It's like
Yeah.
also like you should have brought it. I'm not one thing where it's like if you don't bring something up when it happened, like it's like oh yeah, like you didn't do it, you didn't say something then, like you can't say something now. Like sure you can say something now, but like why do it in the middle of the
And make it so
like
public. Like so public. Just tell them.
well,
Send them a letter. Serve them.
yeah. Yes, serve them. You don't need to like also inform the press or put in your website. Like, yo, like here are your allegations. We're charging you officially. Like either cooperate with us today or we're going to go public, which might sound
Yeah.
like extortion, but those
Yeah.
are just the facts. Like,
Yeah.
we can solve this right now privately, or we're going to go public, and this is going to be drawn out in the courts and like public, like whether or not you're found guilty or not, like your public image is going to be tarnished forever because like people don't read, people don't know.
Yeah.
So you're just like, oh yeah, like they definitely like cheated.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, we knew they were cheaters for a long time. It's like the reason you think Man City are cheaters and the reason why the Premier League are calling them cheaters are two completely different things.
Yeah.
And it's like you get people in the comments who are like, oh yeah, like they buy so many good players. It's like, shut up. It's not even
It's
about
not even,
the players because all the players they bought were legit, man. Like
Yeah.
that's not even what the problem is. So it's like it's confusing for people, and it's like that's fine. Like fine, you can't like not do something because it's confusing, but like to do it in February
Right.
and not have a definitive answer. It's like, yo, keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
It's like oh yeah, like they did something bad and we're gonna do something about it. It's like, what are you gonna do? Well, we don't know. Like, what did they do bad?
Yeah.
Well, this is all the things that they've been doing bad. Oh, they've been doing it for this long. Why didn't you say something then? Why didn't you say
Right.
something when UEFA did it? Yeah, well, we I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
like,
I don't like that
well, what
they're
do you-
every single Premier League interview. It's like, what are your thoughts on what's happening? It's like, who cares? Don't ask the coaches that aren't related to it. Don't even ask Pep because
Yeah.
what has to be cleared is that this is not a Pep problem. This is not a players of Manchester City problem, like you said. This
It's
is
not.
Manchester
Yeah,
City
it's
and the
not.
league. And don't ask Mikel Arteta what he feels. Don't ask Jurgen Klopp. Don't ask Sam Dyche. Like it's not their business, and they don't want to answer these questions. They don't. They have better things to talk about. So it's just dirty all the way around the way that the Premier League is handling this.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they got Pep in interviews like calling out the 8 clubs that wanted them relegated for breaking the rules. And I'm like, yo, this is getting ugly. And like the last club he named was Chelsea, and I'm like, yo, like I get it. Like if these clubs want you thrown out of the league because you broke the rule and lied about it, like to me, that's completely fine. Like people are allowed to like say, like, yo, we were following the rules. You weren't following the rules as a club. We want your club penalized. Like Pep, like, I'm sorry, bro, you can't get mad because other clubs want your club held accountable for breaking the rules. Like whether the rule is stupid or not, like you guys all follow the rule.
Yeah.
Except for you. Like you should be punished. Or not you specifically, but Man City should be punished. But like also you shouldn't be in a position where like you're in an interview talking about it. Like go talk to the CEO of the club or the chairman of the board or the like why is the tactical coach being questioned about financial crimes of his club? Like he doesn't touch the checkbook. Like Pep doesn't run, like he has nothing to do with that. He's like,
Right.
bro, I coach the men. I coach the senior team. That's it. Like like I'm the face of the club because it's like the senior team and I'm the coach. But like you think I know what's going on? You think I had nothing to do with this. I don't even know how to like balance it, like, or I don't even know how to like attempt to do something like this. Like if I did, I would be making more money, but I don't. So I don't know. It's just so yeah. Let's just end with this.
Okay.
You are the Premier League. What punishment are you passing down to Man City? Let's say tomorrow morning. First thing tomorrow morning, you're passing out a punishment. What is your punishment for Man City?
Like I said, I think that your argument really did sway me. So I think you're right. I think you've got to admire what Italy did and how Juventus is taking it, what Serie A did, and just right now end it stamp it, put it away, tear it up. Just say, hey, 15-point deduction, take it, and it's wiped clean. Everybody can forget about it. Yeah, this happened in the last 10 years, there, but they're getting their punishment right now for the last X amount of years. Take this punishment and let's move on. Nobody talk about it anymore. Game over. End of story. New chapter. So I that's what I would like to see. Just resolve this thing, get it over with, deduct points, and let's move on. No money fines, no, because just deduct them. That's what I think. What about you?
Yeah. So for my part, it's almost the same. So yeah,
Okay.
right now you're getting 15 points deducted off the top, or whatever a point amount we think is
Yeah.
appropriate. Maybe 15, maybe 20, maybe 3 points for every year. So whatever that ends up being, maybe it's 18 points. You're getting a big point deduction, and then for every year that you've committed this crime, you're going to give 10 million euros or 10 million pounds to every club that was in the Premier League that year. Like if you're so
Dang.
rich, if you're so rich, like for example, like if Norwich was in the Premier League, 3 times out of the last 8 seasons that you did this, you're writing them a check for 30 million.
Okay.
Chelsea, they're getting a check for 80 million. United, 80. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're like, instead of compensating
The league.
the Premier League,
Yeah.
you are compensating the other members of the league retroactively. You're giving them a retribution for having, disrespected them all and not breaking the rules, or by breaking the rules. And like I feel like that would mean way more, because it's like, okay, now like
That's a good
Norwich, like,
point.
yeah, you got relegated, and like, let's be honest, it probably wouldn't have made a difference, but like
Right.
as a gesture of good faith, here's a check for 30 million. You
Yeah.
could probably do something with that,
Yeah.
and that, because it's like, and like that, ultimately that fine would end up looking like probably like, a 200 million euro fine, which would also still send the message to other clubs, like we're making
Absolutely.
an
That's a good
example out of
point.
them.
I
Like,
like that.
this is what happens when you cheat the people that you are supposed to be partners with. Like, they will all gain something
Yeah.
significantly, and you will lose something significant. Not as significant as like a title,
Yeah.
but you are going to lose a lot of money. Your reputation is going to be tarnished forever. There's now
Yeah.
asterisks next to your name, and you're going to lose 15 points, 18 points, maybe, whatever amount of points it is. Or alternatively, I mean, we could just remove you from the Premier League. But again, like I feel
Nah,
like
it's not
that's
gonna
just
help.
like
Yeah.
I mean, that's as temporary as
Yeah.
the 15 points. So it's like, why even, like, unless like someone can like say like there would be like a meaningful reason. Let's call a spade a spade. Like, Premier League wants Man City in the
Yeah.
league. Like, would you rather have Man City in the league, or like have
Norwich.
like Norwich, like, for lesser teams? That I mean, come on now. Like, no one's gonna want to watch Norwich versus, well, I mean, Brentford's good this year. So you never know. You never know
Yeah.
what you can get from the championship. But like, realistically speaking, the odds are you're gonna get one more team, and like the relegation battle is just gonna be a bigger mess because
Yeah.
there's less skilled teams. But
Yeah, I'm with
there's
you.
an opportunity for another team to win the Premier League. That's
I
not
think that's a
City.
good. I think that's a good. I like that the teams that were harmed in this are getting some sort of compensation, because I don't think the league should.
Yeah,
The league made money off of how good they've been the
the
last.
league wasn't
Yeah.
hurt. It was the other teams
So that's a good point.
that were potentially hurt,
Potentially. Yeah.
but they were definitely,
Yeah.
I can't even think of the right word I want to use, but they were definitely lied to
Yeah.
by their partner, because it's
Yeah.
like they're all in this, like, it's like me, like we're in this together, and I'm sitting here, I'm lying to you to your face for 4 years or 8 years or whatever. So anyway,
Yeah. Cool.
Woo-wee.
That was
All right,
a
man.
lot.
Well, yeah. So there you have it. That's our thoughts on the scandal in Manchester City. Manchester City versus the Premier League. The Premier League, you guys are suckers. We don't respect you in this one, but it is what it is. So I guess we'll follow the story. We'll see where it goes. I likely don't think we'll get any resolution on this until like at least a year from now. Like,
Really?
I don't expect.
Yeah, they say it's
I don't
going to draw
expect it to
out.
go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, like City got good lawyers. Like, you just can't. That's why I feel like it's like, yo, like, don't, they shouldn't have made a thing about it. Just be like, yo, boom, you're getting hit with the point deduction, and I think City would have just stood on it. They would have
Yeah.
been like, because they stood on the fine from UEFA. They're like, yo, we know we broke the rules. Like,
Yeah.
that's not in question. But if you ask us, we're gonna probably tell you we didn't. But like, if you say you broke the rules and this is your fine, we're just gonna write the check so this thing disappears. So it's just like, yo, 15 points, or and this is the fine. They're just going to write the check and we're all going to move on. Like, it's like when you got the money and you got the talent, it's like, it's not even a thing. Like, the reality of the situation is, though, they could probably get hit with a 15-point ban or deduction and probably still win the Premier League if Arsenal keeps drawing the way they do. So, like, they think, or it definitely make Champions League if, Liverpool keeps losing and Chelsea keeps drawing, but that's it. Anyway,
they could definitely
right,
still make Champions League if they get to 15-point deduction. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, like it's not. Yeah, it's February. They still got 4 months anyway, or 3 months anyway. Okay, guys, that's it. We got to wrap. Thank you for hanging with us. Should we? Nah, that's it.
What?
Nah, we good. We don't have time to get into another subject. It's already been an hour.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Peace. I'm at 50.